And welcome back to another podcast with Ghost Stories Told from the South. I am your co-host, Lexi Booth.
And I'm your host, Stephen Booth. How y'all doing out there in that spooky land?
Now, tonight's episode, or whenever you're listening to this, is going to be just a tad bit different because today it is a special episode.
Yes.
It's not, we were going to do it as like the 10th one, but we were like, no, we'll just do it as a special and then do. So,
yeah.
As always, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. It is South Texas Ghost. Texas is TX, not TH. And then we have Spotify, Stitcher,
iTunes.
And then we have an email, ghoststoriestoldfromthesouth@gmail.com.
Yay!
Make sure to check it. DM us. Let us know what you think. And if you have any stories that you want us to tell, like, because we're going to start doing this, like, every month.
It's just, yeah.
Like, an hour long. Like, this one, I did all by myself because Dad didn't really understand. And I was like, I want to do it. Because I'll get into that in a minute, and you'll kind of see why. But we're going to start doing stuff like this. So if you have stuff that's, like, really, really interesting in your hometown.
Yeah, and we're going to focus on it for an hour. That's going to be the whole subject.
Yeah, instead of doing, like, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories. So...
We're gonna do it once a month, but like she said, y'all email us and tell us, hey, talk about this or talk about that.
And y'all are stuck with my voice the entire time. I'm sorry. Dad's not, like I said, I researched because he didn't know really what to...
I couldn't find nothing. It kept wrapping into...
this show. Yeah, because it's part of his show. But he's going to ask questions and everything that you guys probably have. He's just going to, like, talk to me about it and go into more detail.
We can give y'all a heads up about what we're going to do, and then we can have a little questionnaire after it.
Yeah, unless I've already answered the questions.
Yeah, or we can answer questions at the end of the, like, next week's episode. You know, we'd be answering questions about this story on next week's.
Yeah.
So y'all do that, and we can have Q&A towards the end or something. Make it fancy in here.
All right. Okay, let's...
Is everybody ready for spooky time?
Okay, let's get started. Okay, so
turn the lights down low. Get a good glass of milk and a good old blanket because we're gonna scare the bejeebies out of you.
okay, let's get started. Okay, so they mentioned American Horror Story a lot because
it's cool.
It's a cool series, but also most of the stories that we have done or talked about or researched or came across, they have all been a part of American Horror Story, or like the houses or the sites they do the show.
That's one thing I like about that show. Some of the stuff that they put in there is really true.
Yeah. So, and the only reason I'm saying this because it has to do with this week's episode. So, season 2, the asylum, Briarcliff Manor. It's based off of and today we're going to adventure out onto that asylum. But first, I want to cover the characters and tell you guys, like, who they are in real life.
Yeah, because didn't they get some of the characters from actual people that work
like
there
they're
and
all,
everything?
Well, not work there. They're, like, all actual characters. And it's not just all tied into that one asylum. Like, there's one that's tied to another asylum. There's... we'll get into it and you'll kind of understand because I don't really want to get many spoilers till I get to it. But, yeah. So, okay, I just had to explain it a little bit so you guys aren't like, what? But since we're always talking about American Horror Story and referencing it anyway.
I'm pretty sure they've seen it. Well, at least I hope our audience has seen it. If not, go check it out, please. It's a very good episode.
You guys might be like, what at first, but it's really...
I wasn't... The only one I was kind of blah about was Roanoke. Roanoke really... That episode to
My
me,
favorite is Coven and... like, the first four.
The first one was God.
The first four I loved. After that, they kind of went downhill.
Yes.
But, anyway, so... It is, as I said, it's based on the notorious Willowbrook State School. And I'll get to why it's called school in a little bit. It was originally the institution for the intellectually impaired children in Staten Island, New York, but it eventually added adults into it too, so it wasn't just children; it was adults too. And it held up to, at one point it held like over 6,000 patients. But I'm not going to go too much into the hospital or whatever you want to call it right now. I'm going to go into the characters real quick, and then we'll dabble into the place, because I have a whole lot on the place. So
you dabble.
And if you haven't seen it, this will probably not make any sense to you, but
yes, so if you have time, please go check it out. And that's another thing
or at least the second season, because this is about the second season.
Yeah, we have to watch that second one. That's another thing I like to do and talk about, is doing watch-alongs.
Yeah.
Like old scary movies or something.
Okay, so Sarah Paulson's character, she's Lana Winters. That's when Lana Winters is like born in the show. I was using my hands to talk and I just smacked something. Anyway, so she's actually based on a true character, and there's kind of two that are kind of like her. So it's based on more than one. So this one guy, Geraldo Rivera.
Oh yeah, he was a reporter in the 80s. I remember him.
Oh yeah,
my mom would watch him. He would always uncover a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he went into the he went to the institution, and he videotaped everything, and he wrote an expose on the institution in 1972, and then it showed the truly horrific conditions of the institution and everything, which I have more about him later on, but that was one of them that was based off of, because if you remember. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. But towards the end of the show, when she gets out and she's talking about her horrible experience, she comes back and she videotapes everything.
Yeah.
And then she shuts it down. Like, it's gone. And then the other character that she's based off of is Nellie Bly. That's her pen name. She went by her pen name. I'm not really sure why I didn't say. But she was born by the name Elizabeth Seaman. And
very interesting.
So the characters, the AHS characters, they saw an article that she wrote about. I guess she was one of those people like Geraldo, who went around, reporter doing that stuff. So they saw a expose that she did, and they were like, "Oh, this is fancy." So whenever she wanted to go do her next one, they kind of followed her.
Around?
Yeah, not around, but like followed. Shut up.
Calm down. No one can see us.
No, I'm hyped up. I love this story.
We'll just chill. It'll be all right.
Followed like her journey. That's the words I'm looking for. So she did an expose on the woman's lunatic asylum, and they loved it. So basically what she had to do, she had to involuntarily admit herself. She went up there, I guess, pretending to be, like, crazy. She didn't say what she did or anything, but that's how she had to get admitted, and she was succeeded, and she got admitted. Well, 10 days later, she got out, I guess because they realized that she wasn't crazy, that she was just there for, to scandalize. And she got released.
She's lying. She's not telling the truth.
Yeah. And then she released her expose, and it was one of the many things that shut the place down.
Oh my God! So basically, with Geraldo and her.
Yeah, well, that's not the only thing.
Oh
but,
my God!
Yeah, there's a lot. I have a lot on it.
So that place was a living hell.
Pretty much. American Horror Story made it seem like a good place.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but if you remember, for those who have, Kit and Alma, they were the interracial couple.
Remember, they was the ones who...
the aliens or whatever,
said they had aliens attack.
And then he was having the one doctor was doing the experiments on him.
Yeah.
Because they were like, you're crazy. And so, because Alma got abducted. Whatever. Can't talk. So, that's actually based on a true story. He didn't go into an asylum because he was crazy, but they reported seeing and being abducted. Whatever you know what I'm trying to say, by aliens, and they said they were on a spacecraft and stuff. And that was the crazy part. It was September 19th of 1961. It was the day after my birthday.
That's crazy.
So that was based on a true character. So, yeah. And it's so crazy how, like, they got everyone so accurate.
That is pretty true. They are pretty good about doing their background checks and all that stuff,
Yeah.
I will say.
Okay.
Because when you look the stuff up on Google to see if it's true, it's pretty much right. They
Yeah.
got it right.
There's a
Pretty
few
good.
things that they didn't add, but, or,
Yeah.
like, extended, but they kind of had. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Hans Gooper, or Dr. Author, or whatever, remember he's the one that did the experiments, and he was the one that was, like, at Auschwitz camp?
Oh, yeah.
The Nazi concentration camp?
Yes.
There is a little bit of that in this character, I'm sorry, but after that, there's no more.
He was the one doing the experiments, too. He would do sneaky stuff, remember?
Yeah, he is that one that cut off that girl's legs and stuff.
Yes.
All because he wouldn't give her, because she wouldn't give him a blowjob.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, he's based on Joseph Mengele, that's how you say it. So, he was overseeing SS doctors at Auschwitz, the Auschwitz concentration camp. And then he got transferred to another one. And he did, like, a bunch of human experiments on them. And he was very interested in twins.
Really?
Yes. And he did so many gross, nasty procedures. And a lot of them died from them. It didn't say what procedures, and I'm kind of glad I didn't go into that. But, like,
some of them Nazis, they did some wicked crap, man. Wicked shit.
So, and then remember Bloodyface, or Dr. Oliver Thretson? Yeah. So he was based on Ed Gein. This one, okay, kind of goes into, like, a whole bunch of crap. If you'll notice when we get to the very end of, like, okay, so he was a serial killer, and he was really bad at grave robbing. He at least took 9 bodies. And then he confessed to only killing 2 women when a lot of them suspected that he killed, like, at least, like, I think, like, 10 or more.
God dang.
And then, so, the bodies that he killed and the ones he took from the graveyard, he would make the human skin, he would take them and make them into belts
Wait a minute. Now you're talking
and
about
lampshades and
yeah.
stuff, and the vest and the mask. And then the bones, he would use it as bowls and ashtrays.
Yeah, that was old Ed Gein, man. He was a sick shit.
Yeah, and so they said he also inspired Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Like, for some of the stuff they did in the movie.
Yeah, because he was a real live person doing that crap.
Yeah, that, ooh. Nasty.
And he was just a little old man.
God.
He was a sick fuck.
I wonder what drives, like, what thing clicks in their brain. I've always wondered that.
I got so much of a guilty conscience about anything. I couldn't do it.
It would eat me alive.
And then they have the shit in my house, walking around looking at it, going, "Yeah, I killed her about a year ago. I dug that one up, and
yeah,
that's kind of nasty."
So I'm gonna be flipping back and forth, so excuse the papers, but my notes are there.
Flippy.
I just gotta, and we will get to ghost stuff because it is still ghost stories, but I gotta tell you all the crappy history first. There's a lot. Okay, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce this patient's name, but there was a patient who was 57, and she had the mind of a child. Like, she couldn't speak, really. She was one of those people that, like, had the deformity or something where she couldn't really talk or form words. And she grew up as, like, an adult, but her mind never grew up. If that made any sense.
Yeah.
And it said that she lived in a group home with at least 24 others like her. But then it said that she lived there at this Willowbrook place her entire life. So I'm not positive, like, on that part. It might have been, like, on it, because they did have other, like...
Oh, yeah. Branches?
Like, houses.
Oh.
Because it was one of those other self-sophisticating.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Self-sufficient?
Yes, I'm sorry. So... She started getting bruises on her arms, legs, and there was a big old shoe print on her belly.
Oh my God.
And a state investigation happened, and it found out that she and the other people that she was staying with, like, around her that were like her, were getting beaten by the employees, like her daily caretakers.
Oh my God.
So...
For your daily beating.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And then also, Because okay, I didn't never did say like how it started out, like if it was one of those ones that started out really really nice, and then over time got really really crappy. But I mean, it never housed like just 200, then went up to 6,000. I mean, it housed like a pretty good amount at first.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, from the very beginning, they were crappy. Like they would leave them unattended, and
That's just how they did people in them conditions.
yeah,
With them conditions, back then they were just shitheads to them.
like
They'd use them for guinea pigs for their experiments to see, because they was trying to cure shit. But,
yeah, like if they got like they would just dump them in there, and then they would just go about their business. Like they
oh
would
God,
just
yes.
leave them random
It's
in
like
there.
human life didn't mean shit to them.
Mm-hmm. So like they would just these people that would have these all disabilities would just run around, and there were to be enough clothes for everybody and everything else, or like most of them needed help eating and drinking and like needed daily care like people in nursing homes, and the staff just didn't give a crap to help, or there wasn't enough staff or whatever.
Yeah.
So when they had to when they needed to be changed, they had poop all over themselves.
They just sat in their crap until they got changed, basically.
Well, some people threw it at the walls and smeared it all over the walls.
Lovely.
So, yeah, but some, like most of them, took off their clothes and ran naked.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah, a lot of them like to be naked. And then there was also like some, like they called them rags, but like terrible clothing they had, like gowns, basically, like hospital gowns.
Yeah.
And then there was they said some people were like trapped in beds or chairs. Don't know if they were chained to them or like locked in a separate isolation part. Probably, if that's what they mean, trapped. And then they did lock up, I guess, like the people that were like too much to handle, because it said that others were left like to rot in a ward. So
the ones that could actually walk around and not need their assistance that much, they just needed their assistance to eat. They were like, fuck them. The ones that were really shitty that they couldn't control,
and we're like, sit here till you die. Yeah, it was bad. And the expose of yeah, led to a landmark court settlement thingy in a 1975. The New York agreed to move all those mental patients into smaller group homes. So that's whenever they were like broken down and not broken down, broken apart, and just like on and on. It said that many people still today suffer like abuse and stuff. It said at least like 2,300. No.
Oh, you mean in homes?
Yeah, like in the homes, like
Homes,
those
yeah.
only though, like it said especially those people, and I was like,
the
that's
homes in the
sad.
insane asylum still, yeah.
But that same time's not open anymore. It's still there, but it's not open. Okay, so the government, the New York governor, I kind of have it written down twice because he said 2 different times, but just ignore that. He used to call them. Everyone kind of called them this, though. They're the mentally and physical defective and feeble-minded. And that kind of upset some people, but not a lot of people. So this place opened October 1947. And immediately they admitted 20 mentally disabled patients from upstate hospitals. So, like, not around where they were. And I'm guessing it went okay. I'm really not positive because, like I said, most hospitals that I've gone over or whatever, it's like, oh, it went really good in the beginning, and then it went crappy. Like, they didn't.
That one, they didn't give a shit from the get-go. They're like, let's just take these people's money. And
Yeah.
because I think them asylums were, like, state-operated, so if they had a lot of people in there, the more money they got.
Yeah. Well, okay, so it said in a short time that Willowbrook was already overfilled and understaffed. And then, so it opened in 1947, and already in 1955, it reached a capacity of 4,000 patients.
Jesus.
So
That's a lot of po people.
yeah. So, and then this is another thing that we'll have to come back to because, like, I don't, like, of how it went, but hepatitis, I don't know how it happened, but there was a really bad hepatitis outbreak, and almost every single patient got it. And also, there were like things that they were doing to them with it. We'll get to that in a minute. But
God
yeah,
dang, they just let them patients run around and screw each other and throw crap at the wall.
yeah, it was bad. And then in 1960, measles killed at least 60 patients.
Yeah.
But back then, there wasn't anything for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is now.
I don't know.
I never really heard of the measles anymore.
Nah.
I think that was like a back then thing. So, okay, whenever I said earlier how it, way to go. When I said earlier how it was the Willowbrook State School, and I said we'll go to talk about the school thing later. They called it school, I guess, to get away with having that many people there and everything, I guess. I'm not really sure why they called it school, because it wasn't a school at all. Like, there was no teaching. I mean, obviously, they let these patients run around wild. There was barely any educational structure. There was barely any teaching, but when it did happen, they only let a handful of students who were, like, willing to, like, listen go to school. And only 2 hours a day.
Man, that's teaching them a lot right there.
Yeah. So,
It just kills me how people just throw away human life like that. Like it's just nothing, like a piece of garbage.
I know, it was terrible. So they were the hospital and them were also defined. I call it the hospital, I'm sorry. I don't call it school. It was not a school. The place was defined by constant neglect, a condition that overstressed and underdefined staffed, and not responsible for like any of the things. Like that's kind of what the motto was there. Instead of being like, "Hey, we help people."
Yeah, we'll just take your money and kill them.
Yeah, it was. Time back then was. Okay, so you know how I mentioned that there was like different buildings, kind of like how it had its own like establishment.
Oh yeah.
They would send like, cause like the patients roamed on their own, so they would like have them just run wild, and they would go to different buildings, and they were huddled. Like a bunch of them were just huddled together. Some of them were just like moaning, some were fighting, some were fidgeting, and just like anxiety, panic mode stuff. And then there was just like little care resources. Like one article said they were like breaking windows and tearing into stuff and everything. But like with neglect, like I mean, there's proper way to take care of people, but like you neglect them and everything. If you're not like 100% and you don't have like, if you have a disability and you're like really messed up, then like something's gonna. And it wasn't just like Down syndrome or not being able to walk. It was like there were some people that were like crazy in there. But, and there's also people that were like, okay. But, and then I did say that many people went naked because they just,
Hey, let's just go naked. We're crazy anyway. There's no one here to watch us.
And then, I think I said this, but I didn't say it. I said it without saying it. A lot of them, like, couldn't go to the bathroom on their own. So, like, they would, like, pee and poop, and they just sat in it. Like, for hours on end. And then I did say someone smeared it on the walls. And then they smeared it on clothes. And they couldn't get no new clothes to replace it because,
Yeah.
So.
There wasn't really that many new clothes, it sounds like.
Yeah. And there was a lot of sexual and physical abuse. And it wasn't just the staff this time. It was a lot of the patients that were doing it to each other.
Well, yeah. Well, you figure golly, 4,000 people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't built for that many. I mean, yeah, there's going to be no telling how much crap went on.
Oh, yeah, I know. So, it opened 1947, reached capacity at 1955. 1969, it reached over capacity at 6,200 people. And apparently back then it was the largest mental institution in U.S. And it was probably the most crappiest.
Yeah.
So... yeah, just imagine.
Jeez.
Okay, so also the Geraldo Rivera expose. We're going back into that because I'm going to tell you guys what he found. So, when he went in there, he found a lot of people like huddled aimlessly, just like rocking back and forth, and naked and just like cuddled to themselves. And they weren't allowed to go like outside, but they were allowed to roam freely wherever besides outside. And then middle-aged patients slept on seats. So, like, I guess children got the beds, but the middle-aged patients got seats to sleep in every night.
Oh, man.
That or the floor.
I would be in a freaking seat.
Yeah. And a lot, like he even said, a lot of them were naked. Like, there's barely any people to clothe. And then he said there was a lot of neglect. And he said 60% not... He said toilet trained, but this is also like back then. I'm just going to say potty trained. So 60% was not potty trained. And then 64% could not feed themselves. And there was no one helping. So you can't even...
They was just starving.
Yeah, so you can imagine how many people were suffering from malnutrition and stuff. And died from that. He said that there was like stench coming from rooms because it was unclean, unattended, and the patients disregarded it. But, I mean...
Yeah.
Look what they were living in. And he said that it resembled disease and death. So it was pretty gross. And then there was this one patient that he ran into. I think it was a boy. I'm not really sure. It didn't say. It was a 21-year-old patient. I'm gonna say he because I think it was a he. He had.
That's not a woman, baby.
That's a man. He had cerebral palsy, and he lived there for 18 years. He called the environment a disgrace. He said, and this also was a big thing in American Horror Story. Jessica Lange.
Jessica Lange said.
Well, because, like, remember, okay, so he said he got beat with sticks and belt buckles and stuff. So, remember, like, if you got called up to her place or her, like, room.
Oh, yeah.
Then she would bend you over the table, have you pull your pants down, she'd smack the crap out of you, give you licks.
Yeah, like you were freaking 12?
Yes. So that's where I think they got that from. And then he also said that someone kicked his head into the wall, like it was a staff member.
Jesus.
They were like, oh, bye. I don't...
Bye, Rado. Let me kick you in the fucking head on your way out, alright?
Yeah, I don't... So, and then...
You're gonna rat on my freaking institution? I'll kick your head in the fucking door.
Honestly, though. So, and like I said, it wasn't just for adults, it was for kids, too.
Yeah.
And the kids were also naked all day.
Wow.
They did sexual assault to the kids, too, not just the adults, which is sad.
Yeah.
Somebody who, I guess, was a kid then, got sexually assaulted and got beaten and stuff, and he had a job, and when I read this article, which was like 2008, he was retiring, and he was in his 60s, so, I mean, he has had a pretty good life.
Yeah, that's good.
Lived out a good life.
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of them kids in the system, man, they don't ever make it.
Oh, yeah, I know. So, okay, whenever I was talking about the hepatitis, there was a doctor there that would deliberately infect them with hepatitis. Like, he would do experiments on them, but his excuse was, oh, well, they were probably going to get it anyway.
Well, I don't give you the right to just inject people because you're a freaking doctor.
Yeah. What he would do is he would get samples of the hepatitis, and the only way to get samples from it was to get it from the stool of patients. And he got it from 6 infected patients, and he put it into other patients' food and chocolate milk.
Oh my God.
And he said 90% of the people there got it. All because of him.
And he was passing it around like nothing. Hey, you want some hepatitis? Hey, you like a little bite of hepatitis, my friend?
And I like, they're mental patients, and they were messed up. Like, I mean, they weren't, I don't want to say normal, that's offensive. But, like, they weren't, like...
And you sit there and study them like they're rats.
Yes.
You know, I mean...
And he was just like, oh, they're not going to notice. So, yeah. And then what's crazy, too, is they have buildings that were a part of Willowbrook, and they're a college now.
What?
Yeah, and we'll get to that, too, because shit happens there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's great.
Can you imagine going to college and you're there your first night, you don't know, or you're going there for your tours and they're like, oh, that used to be an insane asylum. And you go, whoa, wait a minute, huh?
Yeah, I'd be like, what? I'm moving. So it's also called the House of Horrors, which Dad just was like, hey, that's actually the House of Horrors, and it's actually called that.
Well.
And they say it's a national hotspot for paranormal, which, obviously.
I bet. I mean, Jesus Christ. Imagine how many dead souls are there. How many
And
spirits
tormented
are there.
souls
Yeah,
and everything.
Tormented souls and people that got beat up, sexually assaulted. And
Yeah. So at the max, it was housed over 6,000, but it was only capable of housing 4,000. So it was way over capacity, and because of that, they had to make budget cuts, and they cut 600 of the staff.
oh my God, even more?
Yeah, they cut 600 of the staff,
Oh
which
my God.
and then that led to the ratio of one caregiver to 50 residents.
Oh God, there'd be no way.
Yeah, that's like
There should be like one caregiver for every 10.
Yeah, that's way better, but they said that I don't know if this is for all of them, because I don't see every single patient being like crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you remember that guy in American Horror Story and Asylum whenever he would just like jack off in public? Like, that's what they're imagining every patient to be. And not every patient's like that.
No, every patient's
Different.
Yeah, it's just like being bodily sick, you know, everybody's sick different.
Yeah.
You know, they just treated everybody the same, like they were stupid idiots. We're like, oh well, here's what.
Yeah. And they said that they would rip off their clothes and just run naked. And then they said that they were really bad about masturbating in public. And then they would roll in feces, just like be like, oh, I pooped, let's roll in it. But it wasn't, I don't think that was all the patients, like I said. I think it was only certain ones. Yeah. Yeah. Which, I know you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Yeah, like that's a disease, and then
Or you can go crazy from not being crazy.
Can sit there and fall asleep. I mean, you don't have to be really technically messed up in the head.
That, or you can go there and then all the stuff they're doing to you can make you crazy, or like seeing all this stuff can make you crazy.
Oh,
it can mess you up. And I forgot to say this too. Whenever they were rolling around in the feces and masturbating in public and stuff, like all that, it led to a public crisis. Like a public health crisis.
Oh, God, yeah.
I guess because all the doctors and stuff were coming in and out and they were getting the whole world sick. So, that happened.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Y'all need to shut the doors and stay in your facility, because y'all
yeah.
are nasty, and y'all are getting everybody else in the world sick.
Yeah. So, when I told you guys about the school thing, you would have thought that if they didn't teach them school, they would at least taught them, like, you know, behavioral traits and stuff like that.
To get out in the real world
Yeah.
and survive and be a regular citizen.
They didn't teach them no behavioral skills, social skills, or hygiene or grooming skills or anything. Like, nothing.
Kids.
Like, they were worse than when they got there. So, it was, you know, they specifically said school wasn't school. They said it was like nightmare. That it was all like, and then, so, they were given, on rare occasions, they were given showers. Like, it wasn't like an everyday thing. It was like a once-a-month thing. Like, yeah. So,
Gross.
they were given 5 minutes to clean themselves. They were given no soap, no toothpaste, and no individual towels. They had to share with other people. So, and they used to have a 30-minute eating time because like I said, most people couldn't eat or drink by themselves, so they had to have help. And that went from a 30-minute to a 3-minute injection of gruel. Ingestion.
Anyway, it says feed them with a tube.
Yeah, like Alexa can't
Shove
talk.
a tube down their throat and
Be
fill 'em
like,
up.
here, ouch. So yeah, it was awful.
That's so mean.
This is the part of the killer person, and I need everyone to stay with me.
The killer person, you mean, what was his name?
No, not the one from the beginning. This is a different one.
Oh.
So, and it goes back and forth. So just kind of, like I said, stay with me.
Stay with me, Beaver.
So they said that the asylum, or whatever you want to call it, inspired an urban legend child killer, or deranged child killer, or whatever. And his name was Crosby. apparently he was an escaped mental patient, and he lurks in the tunnels of the old Willowbrook State School, and he waits for children to come at night, for the children who come and explore it and be like, "Ooh, what's this?" and he kills them.
Is that just an urban legend, or?
Well, yeah, I'm getting to that.
Right.
He apparently is an axe-wielding lunatic. He has a hook for a hand, and apparently he's the boogeyman. It's supposed to be a campfire tale to tell around the fire to keep people out of the woods surrounding it and the tunnels and the building, but I mean,
that seems to not be working very good, because that's making people go, I want to go see this place. It sounds pretty awesome.
Or, I don't believe you.
Yeah, you're full of shit, man.
Well, then I was like, I want to see if this is real. So I investigated, and it's real. It's real as the back of my hand.
Really? There's been reports of a guy running around killing people?
Yeah, it's real. He was an escaped mental patient. Sorry.
Sorry, my bad, everybody.
And he set up camp in the woods, and he roamed the tunnels after it was,
Oh, man.
yeah,
Closed?
after it was closed, yeah.
So he was actually killing people? Oh, my God.
And so, yeah, the school closed in the 1970s, so after it closed, he lived underneath the tunnel. I mean, not underneath the tunnel, underneath the place, and he lived in the tunnels. And after that, kids started disappearing, but no bodies were found. Well, so then I started looking more, and then, so this one girl, Jennifer, in the summer of 1987, she went for a walk and she never came home. She was a 12-year-old girl with Down syndrome. And so her parents were like, oh my God, where'd she go? So they launched a massive search party. And they ended up finding her behind the old abandoned school.
Oh.
And when they found her, they uncovered a whole bunch of bodies. And get this, it wasn't just her. It wasn't just, she wasn't the only person with a disability. Syndrome? Not Down syndrome, she wasn't just the only person with a disability. He only got people that had disabilities. And he was one of them. He was
a dick.
And he was somebody who lived there.
Yeah.
And he saw what they did to them, and he chose to do that too.
That's fucking crazy. Man, that's crazy what you can find out what's real. That's nuts.
Yeah. So he had already been previously arrested for kidnapping of 11 children. And with that, he used to work at a bus service, and he went up, I guess, a bunch of kids were walking home or something, and he walked up to them and he was like, hey, you want to go for a joyride? And he kidnapped them, and for 5 hours he was driving them around. And then he got arrested for that, and he served 10 months. So, and then he also got arrested another time for trying to rape a young girl. I guess they said that he, picked her up on the side of the road or something and drove off, and then he was pulled down her pants and everything and got her undressed, and then a police car pulled up and arrested him.
Oh my God.
And for that one, he got sentenced at 25 years in jail, but he got parole in 2008. Oh wait. Sorry, that was for the murders. He was sentenced to 4 years for the rape, but he certainly served 16 months and then he got out. So I don't know, it didn't say what happened for that. But, yeah. Anyway, yeah, for the murders, I'm sorry. He got sentenced to 25 years in jail, but he got parole in 2008. And then, I guess the cops were more curious, so after they had found, more bodies and stuff, they went back and they found more stuff in 2004. And then he got 25 more years.
Jesus, so this guy was killing a shitload of kids under the cops' nose, and they didn't know nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then this is another one. I don't know, because it kind of sounds just like this guy, so it might be them working together, because they say that he didn't work alone. So it might be both of them working together or something, and the other guy just got blamed for everything. They say this person is a real-life Freddy Krueger. But I think it's a guy. I think it's a girl. I'm not positive. There wasn't a picture. But her name the name's Andrea Ann. So I'm pretty sure it's a girl, but I'm not going to say anything on that because it could be a guy. You never know. So apparently this person worked at the Willowbrook State School. as a custodian, and he aided in the physical therapist at school and stuff, and he got fired right before it closed. Like, I don't know why, he just got fired. And while he was out killing everybody, he made it his home. But he would only, again, like the other person, he would only get kids that had disabilities. And he would bring them back to that place and kill them. Like, so I honestly, now I think that, like, they were working together, or like...
yeah, or something, jeez.
Yeah, because they said that he didn't work alone.
He don't work alone.
So, right before it closed, I guess, like, the New York senator at the time, his name was Robert, he went to the place. He's like, I want to see what all these exposés are about and stuff. So he went, and he called it the snake pit.
It was that bad?
Yeah. And he called for a 5-year action plan to approve treatment of the patients, and then the school following his visit. But it never closed after that. It took a few years to close. So nothing ever happened. And then he also referred to it as a prison, and that's kind of how everybody else felt. Oh, I didn't say this about the hepatitis thing. So the doctor made the patients eat other patients' feces to get hepatitis sometimes.
Oh, God, this guy was one sick mother...
And I don't know if that, because I did say he'd get the stool and put it in, like, their food and stuff, but I also think he had him, like, eat it straight up. I don't know. Like...
One sick mother...
And there was an employee that did an article, and she said not everyone there was bad, but the majority of the people there was bad because you didn't have to have a background check to get hired. So they would literally just hire anybody.
Yeah.
Which sucked. And then she said that in the morning she had a daily routine. She would unlock a huge steel door, and every day she'd unlock it, and there would be 40 toddlers behind this door. And to this day, she still wonders why there's toddlers behind it, or was toddlers behind it.
It's probably having selling babies illegally, black market babies. They say that's what used to happen in the Hotel of the Baker.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, they sell babies out of the basement.
That's sad, because that stuff happens.
It's black market.
And the parents, see, this is what messes me up, because, like, the parents then always put their children there if they were messed up, but then the parents filed a lawsuit against the place when they found out how bad it was.
Yeah, why don't you just go get your kid out of there, you dumbass?
Yeah, and at least 5,000 parents filed against it.
Wow.
So, it ended up getting something to happen to it, and now it's abandoned. So, yeah. It was, pretty bad.
Nasty.
Yeah. I cannot believe some of the history on that. Like, the history alone is awful. And okay, and if you haven't seen American Horror Story, again, I'm sorry.
Oh,
yes,
God.
The point of this is you need to watch it.
And if you have to, go watch start out with season 2.
Yes, because that's what this one is all about, season 2. But if you have seen it, for those of you who have, the expose that Lana Winters did, her video is so accurate to how it was, like, and how they treated them and stuff. It's pretty much, it's like, I mean, not exactly, but it's kind of it's accurate, of how it was. Like, it's, I don't, and then just how the exposés went about, and it got shut down and then abandoned and everything. That's like how it was.
Jeez.
So, well, I got some ghost stuff to tell you guys about it. So, let's hear it.
Go for it there, Scrappy dude.
Before I do that, do you have any questions about the history? Shoot me, anything.
Not that I can think of. I mean, it was pretty informative. I mean, that was a pretty messed up place, and it was huge.
Yeah, yes,
but
it was.
But it just makes you wonder. I mean, there was that place like that, and I mean, how many places were like that in America at the time?
Yeah, and not just in America. There's like so many. I know there's so many just like in the UK and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just because I watch abandoned places, like I watch people go toward them because I'm like weird like that. I like it. But okay, so I don't know if you can go do ghost stories or whatever because nothing was said about it. But I guess um, if you see like people always sneak in, like people find a way. But like I said, there's the college that's there, and then there's also an office building that's occupied by one of the many buildings that were a part of the state hospital.
Many buildings, huh?
So, stuff happens in those because they were a part of the state school, whatever you want to call it. So people see apparitions of patients, and they hear unearthly howls at night. And then they also hear mysterious shouts and wailing, like people are like crying so bad. And then they see abundant shadowy figures, like through the windows and stuff.
Jeez.
So when the college opened up, because I told you guys that one of the buildings is now a college. When the college opened up, almost immediately, there was a...
When did it open up?
It didn't say.
Oh. How can we make that shit accurate?
There was a report, like, when it opened up almost immediately, there was reports of paranormal phenomenon from the students and staff.
Oh, man.
Like, as soon as it opened, which is weird, because normally, like, it takes... But I'm pretty sure they had to... I'm 99% sure they had to do renovations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, they have to. And like I've heard a million times, they say renovations really stirs up the spirits.
It stirs it up.
If I ever buy an old house, that's the first thing we're doing. We'll start renovating.
I'm gonna live with Ashley.
I'm gonna let you have the house and go bye-bye.
You're mean. So they say that they hear and see. They say they hear like animal noises, like unhuman noises.
Oh my god.
Apparitions, even a ghostly gnome running around the school.
Wow.
They say they have a sense of being watched and followed. And there has been a lot of like ghost entities picked up on the security cameras at the school. Ooh. Which I'm like, what? And also, there's apparently Satanists chasing and killing people in the woods. Not so sure on that one, but you never know with today's world.
That's kind of creepy.
There is a lot of like people like that out there, so not gonna say anything, you know. There is a dark figure per a ghost thing that followed someone to their house and watched them from the window, like in one spot until the sun came up, and then they just like drifted away. Yeah, and I don't know what I would do if
Screw that. Something came home with me.
Yeah.
Knowing my luck could be somebody mean.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, so one of the buildings that I had to tell you guys about is like an office building now or something. It's occupied, and it's an office building.
It's occupido.
It's these experiences are the same exact thing that happened to the same exact people at different times.
Jeez.
So, somebody got yelled at in the darkness when they were all alone. Yeah, all these also happened like when they were there by themselves.
Kind of like the other day when we got yelled at.
Shut up. So, somebody got yelled at in the darkness. And then someone got chased from the abandoned buildings, which it's not technically an abandoned building, but they kind of call it that still. I guess I didn't say what they were doing, but I'm guessing that they were like going a little bit too far. And then they hear footsteps passing the office doors when there's obviously no one else there. Like they have gotten up and been like, hello, and they've explored and no one's there.
Yeah.
The toilets flush by themselves. They hear their names called, which is like, it's different people, different times. Each name has been called. They also hear children's laughter through the vents. And then they've seen two children. This one girl saw two children in like old-timey clothing in the hall, and she was like, what? So she followed them, and they started running faster and faster. So she chased after them. She turned the corner when they, like, almost after they did, and there was a door there, and it was locked. So
well, you want to go to college there?
No, this is another building.
Oh my god.
Because there's the office and there's a college. Like there's an office building in the college. I don't know if they're together, like a part of it, or what. Didn't say. And then they also can hear a man screaming in excruciating pain. Probably the ghost of someone being tortured.
Yeah, being tortured from back in the day.
And then people have gotten pushed down, yelled at, and shadowy figures chase them from the office building.
Well, I think I'm going to the office building when I get there first.
So I would say those ghosts are pretty upset and mad at the world right now.
That was crazy, that one part when you was talking about how that guy came out of the escape from the asylum and was living under there.
Yeah, in the
was
tunnels.
Killing people.
Yeah, and it wasn't just one. There was two just like that. And it was two different people. That's why I said I don't think he's working alone, because even other people have said that. And then I read that there was two people just like that, and I was like, what? So.
Creepy stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have.
I
And
hope y'all enjoyed it. I thought that was pretty cool, because, see, I've always wondered about that, you know, because everything I found tied back into the movie, and I'm like, what?
yeah, literally almost every single thing is tied back into the movie, and it is like so crazy.
Oh God, it's pretty cool.
So, sorry we didn't make it to exactly an hour, but we're almost there.
Hey, we're almost there. We're getting there. It'll be good.
I'm so
But that's pretty cool. If y'all have not checked it out, though, check out American Horror Story Season 2.
Yes, this is what this one was based on.
That's one story. I mean, that's one episode. That's one show you can watch, and it's gonna be at least 70-80% true of this stuff happening. You know?
Yeah, they do extenuate it just because of their purposes for the show, but they do have the base of it true. But we are
guys,
going to get off
remember,
here.
We have our email at ghoststoriestoldfromtheSouth@gmail.com.
And we are on Instagram and Twitter. Sorry, our dogs are barking. And then we are also on Stitcher and iTunes and Spotify.
Oh, yeah, guys. Come check us out. Keep hitting them likes. We want to give our shout-outs to everybody who's liking our stuff out there. We got District of Columbia, North Carolina, Denver, Colorado, California.
Texas,
Oklahoma. So we're getting there, guys. We love you all. Be good. And remember, keep them lights on. Don't be man.
Bye.